Hello there, my name's Kevin Parson. I live and work in the Dis area, and some of you might know me in actual fact. You may have noticed over the last couple of weeks I've been sharing some chats with people sort of in various walks of life in Dis and in fact in Harston as well. And today I'm really pleased to have Beckett-Allen with me. She's the local funeral director from Rosedale. Hello, Anne.
Hi, Kevin.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you to the people that nominated me.
Well, sort of, some people sort of say they're not really heroes, but then I think everybody's in this at the moment. Everybody's pulling together in the world, and I think everybody's a hero. So, sort of, thanks for joining me, because I know sort of you're busy at the moment. So, I'd just like to sort of start really by just if you can just tell us a bit about sort of. Just briefly, so obviously what you do and obviously how the crisis has affected you over the last month or so.
Sure. So it's been really difficult for bereaved families. Really difficult. Particularly in right back at the start before we went into lockdown, because their expectations were changing on a daily basis. So we had funerals that were in place where people that were really popular local people, and we'd organised memorial services that, you know, where you would have up to 200 people present, and then things kept changing, so the goalposts kept moving, and we had to keep managing the family's expectations every day, and that was really hard for the staff at Rosedale to have to keep phoning them and saying, look, I'm really sorry, but you can't do that now, and I'm really sorry that you can't do that now either. And by the time that the time had passed in the weeks between the death occurring and the actual funeral, the funeral perhaps had changed 3 or 4 times to keep being scaled down, and that was a really difficult period. But I think now, since the government has issued some really clear guidelines around funerals, it's a little bit easier in a sense that actually we can manage people's expectations from the get-go, and we can focus on the positive things that we can still do, rather than having to keep saying, you know, I know that we were going to do that and now we can't. So we think it's a little bit easier in the sense that people are clearer from the outset about what they can and can't do.
Yeah, I think I've sort of, as I mentioned to you earlier, that I've had a bereavement in the family, and sort of the expectations now are a lot different perhaps to what they were, as you say, because we know sort of how many people can be by the graveside, and we know it's a 20-minute service. But I said to my family, what we're going to do is we'll have a celebration of her life later on in the year, and in whatever form. We're not sure what form it's going to be yet, whether it's church or sort of in someone's garden, but you know, we can celebrate her life then.
Yeah, and lots of families are saying that they're going to do that. And in actual fact, I think in some ways, some of the intimate services that we've done around the graveside have actually been really nice for people, and they haven't had to conform to the expectations of the public, and they've been able to perhaps grieve privately and together as a family. And then, you know, in a few weeks and months, when restrictions ease, perhaps they'll be a little bit stronger and a little bit more ready to face people. So I think there are swings and roundabouts, but there's no doubt that it is going to impact on people's grief. The fact that they're in social isolation, that you can't hug, that you can't get the family together across the households, and you know, there's no doubt that it's hard, really hard for people.
Yeah. And just one sort of final question, just on that side, sort of, you know, have you found it sort of a lot more busier than normal, or is it sort of, you know, has it really impacted on your business?
It's really impacted on the business in the sense that we've had to try and keep the staff safe. So a lot of us are working from home, and we've tried to set up teams so that if some of our staff go sick, then we've got other people waiting in the wings that haven't been in contact with those staff. So it's really impacted on us in that sense. And having to arrange funerals over the telephone with a family is much harder than doing it face to face. It's harder to build up that rapport. It's harder to be sensitive. It's harder to have those sensitive conversations when you can't see each other's body language. So that's been really hard, and it's really impacted on our staff because they're finding it so hard. And usually funerals are very traditional, and funeral directors not necessarily used to adapting to change at a really fast pace, and we've literally been having to make quite serious decisions quite quickly, and that's been difficult, and has impacted on the team. But they've been amazing, absolutely amazing. But in terms of the numbers of funerals, we're not seeing anything here in Norfolk like some of my colleagues are seeing in London. So, you know, they are absolutely pushed to their limits and beyond, and some of the things that, you know, that they're having to do. I've got one friend who does a lot of Muslim funerals, and they're literally having to bury 10 coffins at a time in the Muslim burial ground there in London. So we've been really lucky here. I think that the point at which we went down into lockdown here, because we're so rural, and because we're so much further behind the built up areas, we haven't seen that spike in death that we have in other areas of the country. And that's been really good for us because we've still been able to give of our time to the families. So we've still been able to, you know, to give lots of time and to have those conversations where, you know, some of the funeral directors in London, where they're trying to look after, perhaps, you know, each person is trying to arrange 10 funerals a day, and they just don't have that ability to give the families the time that they would ordinarily do. And then that's really difficult, because then we feel like then that we're not doing our job properly, and then we would struggle with the guilt around that.
So it's really sort of, I think wherever you are, it's a stressful time, sort of in whatever situation, whether it's with the COVID-19 or just a sort of not standard, difficult to describe, but you know what I mean. But it's a stressful time, no matter what, and it's just adding extra stress for everybody, isn't it? Really?
You're absolutely right. But you know, the families that we've looked after have been so understanding, and so accepting, really. I saw on the news yesterday that actually some of the bereavement workers in one of the cities, people have been spitting at them because of the restrictions around the number of people that can attend a funeral. And we just haven't had anything like that here. The people in this have just been, you know, really lovely and really understanding, and they realise that it's not us at Rosedale who's setting those limits, that we're trying to do the best that we can to work within them to help them still create a funeral service that can be meaningful for the family.
And going on to that, sort of the people of DIS, sort of, you know, I was going to ask you sort of what you love about DIS and the people in DIS itself. I think one of the things that I've found doing these videos is that there's always a community feel.
Yeah, and people have been amazing in the sense of acknowledging the cortege. So where they haven't been able to attend a funeral service, what people have been doing is they've been coming out and lining the streets and acknowledging the hearse as it goes past. And, you know, that's like a really old tradition that's kind of been revived now, where, you know, often it's only sort of like the elderly gentleman that would stand and you know, and take their cap off as the hearse passed. So that's been really lovely, and actually families have really appreciated that. So, you know, the people of DIS have been really respectful, and that's
you know, that really sort of, that's just fabulous, and obviously stands a lot for everybody, really, doesn't it? So it's really good. So and I mean, you've lived in DIS all your life, I believe, haven't you? So,
I have, yeah. I had a very brief spell in Long Stratton, you know, up the road, but yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all of my nearly 50 years have been in DIS. And
would you say, I mean, I've lived in DIS for 40 years now, so you know, have you noticed much difference in the towns as over the last 20, 30 years?
I mean, there's lots of things that just haven't changed at all. I think that, you know, obviously the decline in the town centre is sad, and you know, it's really sad, and it's going to be really interesting to see, isn't it? You know, which shops manage to open up again when we go back to some sense of normality. But you know, there's lots of things that are still the same as they were, you know, when I was a little kid. Well, I remember doing this when we were at primary school. We went on a little field trip on Mere Street, and we had to sort of draw a little plan of all the shops. And there used to be, I don't know whether you'll remember it or not, but there was a shop called Doubleday's Tobacconist, and obviously Woolworths, and
there used to be where McColl's used to be. There used to be a delicatessen there.
Yeah.
All chat there.
Way and Save.
Yeah, that's of course. Yeah. So really, sort of, if you was to describe Dis and the people in Dis with one word, what do you think that would be?
Community.
Community, yeah. As I think we sort of said, that's always been that. And just one final thing. When we do get back to some semblance of normality, and I think that's not going to be for a while, but it may well be that when we get out of the lockdown, we can actually, our movements won't be restricted as much. Is there any particular place that you think, I'm going to visit that straight away, whether it's a pub, park, sort of a restaurant, cafe, or someone even said their caravan? So, you know, sort of what do you think that would be?
I think for me, the Park Hotel is a really pivotal part of our community, and obviously we spend quite a lot of time there delivering training, organising wakes, and my best friend Tracy works there, so I think the first place I'm going to go is down to the Park Hotel for a cappuccino with Tracy.
Yeah. Good old Tracy, yeah. And that's been absolutely fabulous. Thanks so much for your time. For anyone out there who knows Anne and they'd like to make a comment on, obviously you can make one below, just to say sort of what you think about Anne, because obviously she is a pivotal member of the community. And if you know anyone out there as well who you think should be nominated as a hero, again, please let me know, make a comment below. I'm more than happy to chat to them. You can, if you do nominate them, we don't have to say heroes, because a lot of people say, I'm not a hero. But in my eyes, everybody's a hero. So once again, Anne, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed the chat, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Great. Thanks, Kevin.